Penny Collins for Imagine Crafts. Today we're creating this Father's Day card. Let's go over the products I use. Creative Medium and Metallic Silver, VersaFine Onyx Black Ink, and some Memento markers. I have Gray Flannel, London Fog, Danube Blue, and Bahama Blue, and some Tuxedo Black. We're going to be using on-point glue and Terra tape to adhere our card together, and some foam tape. These are the stamps I use from Forever in Time. And we have a piece of white, heavyweight cardstock for our card front, some layering cardstock, our scissors, a palette knife, and a stencil. I went ahead and stamped and fussy cut some of the images, and I die cut these letters in heavyweight cardstock and some pattern paper, which is Woodgrain pattern paper. But it was too flimsy, so that's why I did the cardstock. Alright, so to start our card, I'm going to use the Creative Medium with our stencil, and I'm using the palette knife to spread it through. Once it's all on, remember with Creative Medium, the thicker you put it on, the longer it takes to dry, the thinner, the less time. So I put just enough, and I wanted it to look rough. That's why I kept going over it, to give it that nice texture. Now, your fingers will get messy, and if you don't like that, you can use gloves. Alright, so now let's color and cut this screwdriver. I'm going to use the Bahama Blue for our handle, and I'm going to use the two shades of the gray, which is the Gray Flannel and the London Fog, for the metal part of the screwdriver. And I'm just quickly running this through. And I'm using the brush side tip of our marker. So here we have the Gray Flannel, which is a little bit darker gray, and I'm just going into where the darker ends are. Following the stamp, so to speak here, it kind of gives you where the shadow parts are, which is great. It makes it so much easier. So I'm going to quickly fussy cut our little screwdriver out. And I stamped these on accent 80-pound opaque white ultra smooth cardstock, so this is perfect for alcohol markers, water-based markers like our Mementos here. So that's just a great and easy cardstock to use for those. All right, we're almost done with our screwdriver here. Get that little piece here off. Now I'm going to just color in the edge with our Tuxedo marker, so that we don't have that white edge showing through. Just running it through there. I do this when I fussy cut a lot of images to make them look more cohesive. Alright, so now we're going to adhere our pattern paper to our die cut letters. This is when we bring in our on-point glue. I'm going to put a little bit of the glue onto our cardstock here, and then we'll just layer on the pattern paper. You don't need a lot, just a few dots. And then this also gives you a few seconds, not minutes, a few seconds to align your letters. So do the same thing with all three letters. And this wood grain paper is nice because it just gives nice and oh my goodness, what am I trying to say? Is dark enough, but has enough light to it as well, so it'll show on the card. Wow, yes, I can speak, I know. Alright, I'm going to close the glue so I won't spill it, and I'm going to use some foam dots or foam squares on the back of the letters. I'm going to cut these down, or cut them in half to fit on the back of the letters. And I'll show you what I do here with the letter D, but I repeat the process with the A and the other D. Just going around, making sure to cut them and fill it all in. This will be the only thing that will be popped on our card, which will be the word. Now we're going to pull in some of our Terra tape, our layering cardstock, and our card base, so we can start building our card. Here's our card panel that we use the Creative Medium on, and it's now dry. It's got lots of fun texture and shine, and it looks like a sort of like a pegboard. I know it doesn't have the holes like for a pegboard, but they come in the square design as well. So a grid board. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the layering cardstock, which is a nice like tealy greenish color. And I lost my little edge there. Okay, so then we can start building our card front. I'm going to use the grid of the background to align my letters. I'm going to go ahead and peel off the liner backing of the pop dots. And I'm going to repeat this for all the letters. And I'm just gently placing it, so if I have to make adjustments, it's easy to pull up. So as you can see, I don't press them all the way down until I'm settled as to where I want them. Make sure everybody's lined up, and I realize, oops, it's too much to the right. It needs to shift it over. And the foam square got stuck to my finger there. All right, so everybody's aligned where I want them. Now let's add our tools. I'm going to add the pliers here behind the first D. And I'm going to use the on-point glue for this because it will adhere nicely to the texture paste or the creative medium. Now I'll reapply my D. And I'm going to arrange the hammer and the screwdriver. I'll keep fussing with it until I get it how I like it. Go ahead and apply my screwdriver. I'm trying to decide if I want to stick it under the letter. And then I decide, well, let's put the screw under the other letter here, because that spot there is a little more narrow and I didn't want two tools sticking out. So in the stamp set, there's these little tops of screws. So you have the Phillips head and this flat head. And I stamped and cut those and placed them on the letters so that it looks like the letters have been screwed into place. Put some washers up here, yes, actually those are nuts. Some nuts up here on the top. Adhere my hammer finally. And then there's these little nails in 2 sizes. So I'm going to go ahead and apply those throughout the card. Just looking like Dad's tools are scattered about. And we have one more little screw to stick right in here. There we go. So now we have all of our decorations on the front of our card panel. And now let's adhere this card panel to our card base. Okay, and we'll use our tear tape for this. Just showing you a quick close-up. You can see all that shimmer from the creative medium. All right, so now let's get our card base. Remove the backing off of our tear tape and adhere it to our panel to our base. Pressing it down, and now our card is complete. Again, we used the Imagine Crafts tear tape. We use a grid stencil. With our grid stencil, we used we also used, I'm sorry, I went ahead of myself there. Grid stencil, our stamp set, creative medium, on-point glue, and our Memento markers to create our fun Father's Day card. I hope you found some inspiration today. Thank you for being here.